Welcome back to His Gem Speak with your lovely host, Kathy Kipps. Today's episode is for people who have big, kind hearts. To my people who are known for having a heart of gold. Those people. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about how God delights in the heart that you already carry and why the enemy wants to destroy your heart so bad. But before we hop into it, I want to show y'all the mug of today's podcast. Since it's the month of February, I thought it only made sense. This is one of my favorite mugs. It's very girly. It's very unique. As I said, I love collecting these mugs. This one says, "I long for you," and has a cute little dachshund, a cute little hot dog right in the smack center, surrounded with hearts and stuff. It's just so cute. And in today's cup, we have some fruit punch. I don't want to tilt it too much, that's going to spill. But yeah, that's what we have in the cup today. That's what we're going to be sipping on as we go into depth about why we should protect our hearts, why we should love the heart that God gave us instead of detest it and just really reject the heart that we have because of bad experiences. That being said, today's root verse for our podcast it's found in the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 22, where it says, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." Now, I don't know about y'all, but that verse itself is so deep, and it's short, but it's to the point, which is what Proverbs is known for, honestly. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, I totally recommend reading the book of wisdom known as Proverbs. That book is to the point, like it never misses the mark, and it's not afraid to call you out. So definitely check that out if you haven't read the entire book of Proverbs. It truly is one of my favorites because it has me set, it has me in check, and it's just known for saying the truth bluntly. No sugarcoating. There's not a lot of parables like that. Like, it's just to the point. That being said, let's get into the nitty-gritties of the verse, chopping it up so we can understand the full meaning and just have an overall lovely conversation and why we should guard our hearts, why we shouldn't detest and be disgusted with our hearts because of how our hearts have been treated in so many hands that it's gone across. Because let's be honest, honey, the reason why you feel the way you feel is because you placed your heart in the wrong hands where people have squeezed the love out of it, squeezed the kindness out of it, used it for their own benefits instead of cherishing it, instead of hugging it, instead of embracing it for the beautiful fruit that it gives naturally. Because that's what it is. Your essence, your nature is being the way you are, such as being a giver, being a lover girl, being gentle, being peaceful. All of these characteristics that simply make your heart one of a kind, which is why people love having you around. And it's crazy because not always do you feel welcome in those spaces, but they keep you around because they love the usage of pulling at your heart and what your heart pours out onto them. If there's anything I would tell the next broken-hearted person is your heart isn't the problem. Your heart isn't too much. Because so many times we're placed in a situation, a room, or an environment where our hearts are looked upon as too much. What is too much? You're too apologetic, you're too joyful, you're too cheery, you're too giving, you're too patient. What is considered too much? Now, here's the secret. Sometimes we are looked upon as too much because the people that are surrounding us are too little. They have too little faith, too little love, little in patience, little in kindness. They're just too little. So you come into their lives and it's just like you don't fit that shoe because that shoe is too little. Not saying that we have big feet or anything, but I will say this, our shoes are so big to fill in that when people toss you away, right, because you're a shoe that didn't fit into their lives because you were too much, trust me when I say they will look for that kind of shoe everywhere else, but everything is going to be little as much as they are. And they're not going to be used to it because they were so used to the big fill-in that you brought into their lives. So let that be your peace at night. When you go to bed and let's say you're struggling still with a heavy heart that all you do is cry yourself to sleep, let that be your peace that God gave you such a divine, beautiful, unshakable heart that should have been broken into millions of pieces without being restored, mind you, at this point. But it was restored because God is good. because that's what His grace does. His grace meets us in the most darkest part of our lives, in the most shallow waters that we may find ourselves in. I kid you not, you guys, I've never experienced God's grace in abundance the way I did when my heart was shattered, when my heart was found on the ground, smothered onto concrete by the very shoes that I once trusted, with my heart, with my thoughts. And yes, this is the month of love, a love that the world created and society continues to taint what love really is. Because you see, as believers, love is a whole different thing. There's such a different meaning behind what love really is. And love really is found in the 1st of Corinthians, where it says love is kind, love is patient, love is not boastful, and etc. And what's truly saddening is that this world really tries to strip out the real meaning of love, or so what God created love to truly be. And something that comes to mind at this very moment is that love always prevails. So to those who are going through a hard season right now where you don't feel loved by anyone, or people walked out, or you find yourself in loneliness at this very moment, just know that love always prevails. So if it didn't work out, if God removed them, that wasn't love. That was all you, honey. That was all you, because of the heart that you carry, because of the love that you know how to give. You made them special. You made the situation, the relationship, the connection, you made it special. And that's why it lasted as long as it could, until God was like, now with my child, I've had enough of seeing this fiasco, this buffoonery. And then God gets involved, which thank God that He does. Thank God that He is merciful. Thank God that God is omniscient, omnipotent, and He is always everywhere at all times and sees what you don't see. And that's why when things happen out of the blue and you don't understand what is going on, what is happening, things are going left, things are going right, things are going up, and things are going down. And it's because there's a spiritual intervention that is happening in that moment that you don't know exactly what is going on. But all that I can tell you is trust that God does know what's going on, and God knows what He's doing. Sometimes we want to know every little detail and why. And you know what? God, in His mercy, and if He really wants to show you why, He will show you why. So you know what? If you're in that Curious George moment of your season, if you're healing right now and you're like, God, but why did it happen? And why this and why that? Then I dare you to do the following. And just so you guys know, do have caution when you're going to do what I'm going to ask you to do right now. If you're in your Curious George moment, okay? And that is, ask God to show you why. That's it. Just ask Him to show you why. But also, when you do that, ask God to guard your heart as He shows you why. Because the depth of why sometimes could really hurt and be bitter and sour to the taste of your mouth when you find out the reason why God had to do what He did. Trust me when I say that when you pray that prayer and God gets to doing, it is very uncomfortable and unsettling to find out the reasons and details of why God got involved in the first place, because He knew that we wouldn't let go. He knew that our hearts were incapable of saying goodbye, because honestly, goodbyes are so difficult for big-hearted people to do. I don't know why we're like this. I don't know why we're in harm's way and we don't decide to jump ship. I don't understand. I also don't understand why we take so much punches to the heart, knowing that each punch hurts as much as the next punch, and we're just there to prove a point to ourselves, to them. All for what? All for what? If in the end of the day the Lord says, what good is it to gain the world and lose your soul? This verse applies to so many situations. I truly hope this message reaches the people that feel at their lowest, that feel like their heart was the issue and the problem in the situation, and no longer believes in love or wanting to be loved ever again, because that's how much it hurt, because that's how much you went through in that season. I'm a living testimony that I was this close to being cold-hearted and bitter with the rest of the world after losing so much, after losing people that, yes, I allowed myself to love. And the thing is, when it comes to loving romantically, I am very, very particular, selective, and selfish with it, meaning I am not an easy catch. So when I do allow myself to love, Oh, it's the real deal. It's the real deal. It's the whole 9 yards. Obviously, following God's guidelines in courtship, in pursuing, and how to love someone under God's regulations without going into sin, and etc. And genuinely making that individual feel loved and appreciated and helping them at any cost. To then be booted, to then be called too much and say that you deserve better when it was them who decided to pursue you in the first place. Like it wasn't the other way around, my guy. Don't get it twisted. It's crazy how the world works sometimes. You know what's crazier? How God gets involved in the mess and makes a message out of that mess and doesn't look down upon you with shame, but looks down upon you with love and says, you know what, daughter? You know what, my son? That wasn't it. That isn't good for you. That is not bearing fruit. That is not taking you anywhere. And you know what's crazy? That's the God that we serve. And yet that's the God that we think he is so perfect and holy, which he is. But then we have so much shame and guilt in ourselves that we like hide from God because we feel like we can hide from God. I don't know why we have that feeling that, hey, if I don't talk to God anymore, like, hey, if I don't tap into his presence, then he's not going to see me. Like, I'm going to be far and distant and God's not going to be able to get to me and whatever. But like, how is that even possible if God is everywhere at every time in all places? I don't know. It just baffles me, but I am guilty of being that Christian that literally disconnected from God. And I was like, you know what, God, I'm mad with you right now. Because everything that I had set out, that everything that I had planned, everything that I trusted you with, it all went down to ruins. And literally, I felt like you are walking with me in this journey and now you're not. And I'm completely alone. I don't hear your voice. I don't feel your love, etc., because we have so much hurt in our hearts. And that's dangerous. It's dangerous because if you don't attend to that hurt, if you don't bring that hurt to the altar, if you don't bring that hurt to Jesus, you're kind of doomed. Because now you're giving space to the emotion, you're giving space to the hurt, and that's when the enemy comes in, slithering like that little snake that he is, to whisper more lies into your heart, into your ear. And for those who know, faith comes through the ear. So everything that you hear and you digest that and you accept it, that's what you're going to roll with. That's going to be your fuel to keep on going. It's either going to be a negative fuel or it's going to be a positive fuel. And I don't know about you guys, but I just don't want to give the enemy so much credit to ruin my life the way he's tried doing time and time again. Like, it's just annoying. It's tiring. And you should get to a point of enough is enough, but not enough is enough as in I'm gonna let destruction overtake my life, but more of enough is enough. Let me stand up and fight for what is mine. I'm gonna take back the love that I know how to give. I'm gonna take back my self-respect. I'm gonna take back my self-peace that God gives in the middle of problems. Going back to that verse of earlier, in the end of that verse, it says that a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Now, for those who don't know, I am a poet, so I love breaking down a good metaphor. If earlier we were talking about a good heart and now we're talking about a crushed spirit, it is obvious that the crushed spirit is the complete opposite, the juxtaposition, the side by side of what a good heart is. So if we let our good heart turn into a cold one, a rotten one, a one that is now retired and wants nothing to do with the goodness and abundance of fullness that it had prior, then it's automatically going to dry up your bones. And not just physically, because yes, it can eat you up physically at the very end. Like, this is the very end of the consequence of allowing a negative spirit to overtake your temple. But more so, what a crushed spirit is going to bring is going to bring a dry landscape, meaning that nothing in your life is going to grow anymore. There's not going to be abundance anymore. It's going to be a lot of scarcity. There's not going to be hope. There's not going to be faith of any sort. And most of all, love is going to be non-existent. You're not going to want to receive it. You're not going to want to give it. So then what? You're left with nothing. You're left with bare to none. Do you really think God gave you the heart that you have for no reason, without a purpose, just because he wanted you to suffer here on earth? Absolutely not. I don't think so, because everything is made by God and for God and will fulfill its purpose here on earth. So that good heart that you have, that sweet and tender heart that you hold, that has been wounded, that has gone through so much, yes, that heart deserves to be preserved. Did you seriously think that God gave you that heart without meaning behind it? That God gave you that heart without preparing people in the near future who will take care of that heart? And I'm not just talking about a romantic relationship. I'm also talking about friendships that will embrace you for who you are. Did you really think that God gave you the heart that you have, that you contain without thinking that our heart needs to be in gentle hands, trust me, those gentle hands are for a time to come. And the reason why you had to go through the trenches and rough hands, dirty hands, all the hands that didn't know how to take care of you, that didn't know how to see you for you or hear you out or understand you in depth, it's because he needed your heart to build in a little bit of character. Because there is a verse in Genesis that talks about the woman that I love so much because it's just that deep. This verse can be found in Genesis chapter 2 verse 23, where Adam says, "This now, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, she shall be called woman, for out of man she came out." Since the beginning of time, God already had a purpose and a specific design for women. We are created in the likeness of his image, meaning what comes out of us, what births out of us naturally, all reflects Christ, all reflects God, which is why I want you to understand that big heart that you carry that you hate so much because you feel stupid, because it wasn't appreciated, because it wasn't cared for, because it wasn't loved for. That very heart resembles God because God's love is immense. I'm not saying it's exactly like God because we are not God, we are not perfect by all means, but it's very much close to God's heart, which is why I will dare myself to say this because I've personally experienced it, and also based off other testimonies from men. God moves different when it comes to his daughters, and I'm not saying that he doesn't love his sons because he loves us all equally, but he does move differently. There is a difference in that, okay? There's just something about God's daughter's heart crying that moves God's hand in such a justful way. And I'm only telling you guys this because I've actually seen God's hand move in my favor when I was at my lowest, when I wanted to seek revenge, when I wanted to explode, when I wanted to crash out and go full-blown crazy kind of thing, okay? I saw God sit me down and say, "I got this, my daughter." And did he pull up? Yes. He didn't pull up when I expected him to. He didn't pull up when I told him to, because it's not when we want to and how we want to. God's ways are never our ways, and that's why his word says that his understanding isn't always our understanding. So stop pressuring yourself to understand why God does things and why things are being done, because sometimes you're not meant to understand it. And if you are meant to understand it, then God in his mercy will allow you to understand when you are ready to, because it all depends in our character. It all depends in the moment where things happen, where God sees if we are ready for something or we're not ready for something. Some of us gems are here in our waiting season in the week of Valentine's Day, and thinking to ourselves, where is our husband? Where could he be? You know what? Continue to pray on it. Continue to work on yourself and continue to be steadfast in Jesus. Because if that man comes and you're not ready and you're not prepared and you're not a Proverbs 31, trust me when I say God will pause the mission. Like, the mission's still ongoing, but he won't press play until you're ready or until he's ready. Because sometimes it might not be us, girlies. Sometimes it might be him. We don't know. Don't stop praying for that man of God, and don't stop working on yourself. If there's anything that I've learned in my singleness season, that I still am in, by the way, single by choice, but trusting in God Almighty and his plan over my life. Because if there's anything I've learned in doing my own plans and my own decisions without consulting God and forcing things to happen, it just doesn't work. So newsflash, guys, step back. Let God love you. Let God reconstruct you. There is something in the midst of the air of waiting for something big to fall upon your life. And that's not always a man. That's not always a woman. There's so much more to the picture that we don't see, that we don't get at the time. But just know that being self-built and being built by God is two different things. You can do things on your own effort, in your own will. But let me just say, when you let God do it, when you let God involved in your life, when you consult things with God, everything plays out not just smoothly, but things are just more concrete and solid in your life, and they're better for you. It's not destructive, in other words. I'ma just end it with this. Do not give up on that heart that God gave you, because that's the heart that moves God's heart. That's the heart that's after God. That's the heart that delights in God. That's the heart that keeps on beating because of God. That's the heart that made it through every season and you're still standing, and you low-key still believe in love. That when you see romantic films, you're like already crying, you're eating your popcorn and you're sobbing because your heart feels, because your heart is still hopeful because your heart is not completely destroyed. It might feel weak because of everything that's happened. But God kept your heart alive. God doesn't let you become ugly like the people that hurt you. And don't start today. Don't let it. You're so much better than that. You are set apart. You are not like these other commoners, okay? You are that girl. You are that gem, and stay that gem. Stay that way. Seclude yourself. Be different. Be hard to get. Be reserved. Have some standards. Have some boundaries, because that heart isn't meant to be in a place without its boundaries. That heart is not meant for the streets. That heart is meant for the kingdom. So protect it at all costs. If it feels weak, run to Jesus. If it feels troubled, run to Jesus. If it feels doubtful, run to Jesus. Do y'all see the pattern here? If your heart is crying out for help, run to the Lord. No matter what the circumstance, God won't shun you. God won't turn his back on you. God is near to the brokenhearted. It is biblical. It is truth. And the only reason why you don't believe that he is near you is because you haven't given it a try. And how, Kathy, how can I give that a try? Surrender. Surrenderance is key to let God into your life in the moments of grief, in the moments of darkness. If you don't surrender those thoughts, those emotions, and etc., you won't see the bigger picture. You won't see the light that's right in front of you. You won't see the first aid kit of heaven right in front of you because you're blinded by your eye, by your ego, by your self-being. So surrenderance is key to that. Not to step on any toes, but some of you have a date pending with Jesus and he's there chilling like this, waiting, sitting at your bedside for you to chat with him, and he's just like, girl, stop scrolling. And yes, I'm guilty of it too, so I'm not no one to judge, but I am definitely here to encourage you to talk to God, the only being that looks after you, the only being that actually loves you, the only being that cares about you even when you are in the wrong, my girl. Tell me who else does that? Not even our parents. Sometimes if we're wrong, if we're messed up, if we're crashing out, if we're a hot mess, they don't want to talk or deal with us at that very moment until we calm down. But God, he just takes you as you are. He takes you as it is. He takes the punches. He takes the tears. Yet we choose to be mute, yet we choose to not say anything, and yet we choose to enclose ourselves in our little boxes. And that's why we feel so heavy, and that's why we feel like we're so fed up, and that's why we feel like our heart is no good and that we should just change it. But that is not the solution, because you're just going to become another clone to all those independent women out there that have so much independence that they feel like they don't need God because they're those boss women. It's okay to be boss women. It's okay to depend on yourself occasionally, but don't take away from that dependency of actually depending on God when it's needed. Because if we are self-brought up, trust me, sister, you can only go so far. You can only go so far when you're self-built. When God builds you, oh, the sky's the limit. El cielo es el límite, bebé, as we say in Spanish. The sky's the limit. When you are with God, when you walk with God, when you depend on God. And here's the thing, even if it's the littlest, silliest thing. Like a little quick testimony today, I had a collab video with a spa, which, praise Jesus, I really needed it. I really did. And I don't have a lot of funds right now. But God is good. And that's why he's also called Jehovah Jireh. And long story short, I couldn't find parking where I didn't need to put money in a meter. And I know that they were going to take a minute with me, like about 2 hours. So it's going to come out to like almost $5 for that meter. Not to sound cheap or anything, but with $5, I could get a sandwich or something, you know, in the city for breakfast. So I kind of wanted to save that money. But oh well, I was willing to take the L because I didn't find parking at all. And so I was putting the meter thing on my app from my phone. And before clicking the button to pay the meter, I got a phone call right in that moment from the spa because I was like 7 to 8 minutes late. So I answered them real quick and I'm like, yes, I'm across the street. I just parked my car. Parking was a little difficult, but yes, I am here and I'm going and I'm going to go film that content, etc., etc. And I hung up and I was running to the spa. And in all of that hubbubaloo, I forgot that I was paying the meter because I was super excited because it was my first collab with a spa. So yeah, I was hyped. Then when I got in, like they were expecting me to record right away, which I already was. Again, forgetting about the meter. Long story short, I got into the spa bed. They did the treatment they had to do, and I forgot completely about the paying of the meter. Once I was midway into the spa treatment, I'm like, oh my gosh, the meter. I had literally a mask on my eyes, water running down my hair, and I couldn't move. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I tell this lady that I need to pay the meter? Whatever. I was kind of strapped into that bed and I couldn't move. move. And I was like, you know what, God, I pray that you really look after my car. I don't want to pay a ticket because I couldn't pay the meter, because I was just being a girl. I was in my girl bubble and I was just running to make this thing happen. And then, believe it or not, guys, I was basically 2 hours in that spa and I ran for my life. Once I approached my car, I looked at the windshield, no ticket. No ticket, praise Jesus. I was so happy. I looked at the sky, because this is something I tend to do. It's like a me and God thing. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys do the same thing. But when I know that God does a favor for me, when I know that God came through for me, when I know that the blessing was from God, I look up to the sky or the ceiling or whatever is up above me, because I always believe that God is above us. So I do this little thing where I look up and I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you so much. I thank you so much, because I know this was you, especially the area where I was at in Brooklyn. There's a lot of traffic cops. I kid you guys not. So it was like a mini miracle, and also God came through. This goes to show you that God is in the details, that God is there for you, that God is there for you. Literally, I cannot stress that enough. And if there's anything that I love about him, is how he loves onto us. And this concludes today's podcast. So if you like these kind of podcasts where we are Christian girlies chatting about Jesus, chatting about life, then join the fam, join the Gem Squad. Give this video a like if it spoke to your spirit, if it spoke to your life. Go on and share this video with a friend, a family member, anyone that is going through a hard time, that you feel that their heart is at risk to change for the worse because of what they went through. Share this video. Let this video encourage them. Let this video give them a booster upper. Let this video speak some real talk into their lives, that this is normal, that this too shall pass, that their heart needs to endure the process, because it's going to fall into the right hands, it's going to meet the right people, and also their heart is just too beautiful to die out, because God made it that way for a reason, and that God can really use their heart in this time, in this generation, at this very moment. And as I always say, fix your crown and let's go.